but a philosophical distance, or I don't know how to call it.
He went to boarding so often during the year, and he did all his reading up there.
Most of the reading was done there, and also most of the writing?
Also, writing.
In the fall of 1922.
So is there mit dem Velo noch Christnach?
He came by bicycle. Dr. Jung came by bicycle on his bicycle from Christnach. The western part of the land was sold by Mr. Hugenvatter's father to Dr. Jung. Mr. Hugenvatter's father and Dr. Jung had a very good relation. That's a weiter. Gerade am Film. Ja, nein, ist schön. Und der Brüder auch noch. Großvater und sie haben das im letzten Moment beschlossen.
Ja, mit diesem Trick.
He spoke with everybody. And when they were in trouble, you see, for instance, with bringing in the hay before it came raining, Dr. Jung would help them.
A man is not complete when he lives in a world of statistical truth. He must live in a world of his biological truth. Man has always lived in the myth. And we think we are able to be born today and to live in no myth, without history. That is a disease. That's absolutely abnormal, because man is not born every day. He is once born in a specific historical setting with the specific historical qualities, and therefore he is only complete when he has a relation to these things. It's just as if you were born without eyes and ears, when you are growing up with no connection with the past. From the standpoint of natural science, you need no connection with the past. You can wipe it out.
Yes, yes.
And that is a mutilation of the human being.
He had what the Greeks called techne, hence our word technology and so on. And techne means also art and skill. He lived his sensation, I think, in its natural state, and therefore it was very creative. He looked at the wall in his last years. You see the irregularities of the stone would create that picture, and then he would carve it out.
The statements of every religion, of many poets and so on, are statements about the inner mythological process, which is a necessity, because man is not complete if he is not conscious of that aspect of things.
Well, we have to revive primitive superstition, because in primitive people, their sword has a soul, their hammer has a soul. No smith would start making a sword without a ritual first. Still in the Middle Ages, the heroes who depended on their sword, think if your sword breaks in battle, you're a dead man. So their sword had a name and a soul. They knew that sword, and the solidity of that sword was their fate. And now it's still so. Let a few of your atomic plants explode, and please. Matter, if it has to cooperate with you, needs loving care. And not only technically by oiling and so on. You have to kind of live with it. Otherwise it plays you tricks. Well, one of the last times he went to the tower, for instance, he hadn't been there for a long time, and the first days the covers of the pans like to jump off and fall on the floor in the wrong moments, and you know how objects can absolutely misbehave. So he put himself up in the middle of the kitchen and said, now, ladies and gentlemen, pots and spoons, I know I have neglected you for a long time and you are angry with me, but I beg your pardon and I ask you now to cooperate again. And from then on, there were no more accidents. He had great fun with that. If you notice, it's highly symbolic. The days you can't open a door, you can't get at something, or some object hides from you just when generally when you are not in yourself and in an impatient mood or so on, then everything plays you tricks. It's naturally your own unconscious mixed up with it. But it communicates with matter.
We are only deeply unconscious of these facts because we live all by our senses and outside of ourselves. If a man could look into it himself, he would discover it.
Yes.
And when a man discovers it, in our days, he thinks he's crazy. And he may be crazy.
He played a lot along the lake, and he did it very often alone. He took always a little shovel, removed the sand, and then played with little rivers and so on. And he said when he was 83, he said one day when we were playing, I was generally watching him, playing a bit with him. And he said to me, you know, only today I have suddenly thought, what am I doing when I'm playing like that? That's what I have done all my life, digging out springs. He was just enjoying that. He called it the waterworks. And always before he was writing, he did some days or even weeks of waterworks till he was in the right mood, and then he began writing. I sat sometimes for hours beside him, just watching, not talking. Once an old peasant went along and said to me, isn't this Professor Jung not a world-famous man? And I said, yes, he is. And he said, wouldn't think it if you see him like that.
I have the feeling I am able to help this thing which guides my life. I am not doing it, but I can help him in some way. And that's something which probably Jung has invoked in me. Your good ideas are not produced by your will. It comes to you. You must make yourself ready. I think that's all. And you must have a certain amount of interest. And that's also when you have a difficulty in yourself, you must be interested. You must get the answers from somewhere. You can't produce it yourself. You can't calculate it. And it must, at least most of the important things come from somewhere. And the rest you can then afterwards work out by a kind of technique or routine, so on. But you can't do everything with routine.
I was always looking for something in between, you know, something that linked that remote past with the present moment. And I found, to my amazement, it is alchemy. It is the basis of our modern way of conceiving things. And therefore,